Perhaps I was talking when I should have been listening. Perhaps I was talking when I should have been listening.
Hello. So today basically we're going to be producing lo-fi music. I've never actually produced a lo-fi track before, a lo-fi type beat. Don't be surprised, it's just something that I never really got around to it till now. I'm not sure if it's the weather. It's quite cold here in London at the moment. Almost spring though, almost spring. The thing I like about lo-fi is it's kind of, and I don't want this to sound mean or wrong, but it's great background music, you know, and it serves its purpose. Whether you're meditating, you just want like background music when you're studying, or maybe when you're just chilling, you know, reading a book, whatever. Kind of helps you get in a groove. A lot of lo-fi music uses samples, and I have a lot of samples, so I'm gonna use at least one of them. In fact, 98% of lo-fi music is probably mostly samples. And so the thing about lo-fi music is the beats, the drums, they're always very loose, especially the kicks. It's heavily influenced by jazz music, and so here we go. Just so you can get a feel of what it sounds like. So I started out with this sample here. Let's see. After that, basically what I did was basically chopped up the sample, as you can see here. Changed up some of the melodies, some of the tones. Look at this one here. We just listen back. Leading up into the B section here, which we changed up as well. And yeah, so basically with lo-fi, it's really taking a sample and really just messing around with it, you know. There's really no particular step-by-step process. It's whatever sounds cool to you. So we have that. So that's the first thing we have, is it sounds like a harp that's bending, I'm not too sure. The second thing is the piano. So the first thing I did was listen to it and try and get the key. So it was in the key of F major 7, and we have some chords over here. F major 7, E flat major 7, B flat major 7, and back to E flat major 7. Now this chord here, E flat major 7, isn't actually in the key of F major 7. But you know, the thing about lo-fi, it's very jazzy, and so you kind of need to go a bit left field with these kind of genres. And just to make this is what the piano sounds like originally, without effects. Added a chorus. I added this thing, basically kind of pans the audio left and right. Pan Man by Sound Toys. And then we've got halftime here. Basically what this does is play back the audio coming in, but halftime. So it's almost as if it's adding a bass to it, you know. And then finally just the old analog EQ. just boosting someone at 5K. We can have a bit more presence. So this is what it sounds like now. And then as the song progresses, I kind of pretty much use the same 4 chords, but then I swap them around. So, okay, and then so what happens next is I added some ambience, which is basically just a sample of just crickets. Added some reverb, using a bit of reverb here. Just 2.72 second tail. And then we also have this spoken word sample, which sounds like this.
Perhaps I was talking when I should have been listening.
So what we have there is same thing. We have some reverb and then we have some delay. I'm using an Echo Boy delay here. 8th note delay is literally dual echo. And I'm using the cheap tape style, so it sounds kind of lo-fi. And then obviously I chopped up the sample.
Perhaps I was talking when I should have been listening. Talking, listening.
Finally, we have the drums. So the first thing I did was literally choose drum samples that sounded a bit lo-fi. That's the kick. Snare 1, snare 2, hat, open hat. And we have this pattern right here, for example. I'm just going to loop it now. Here's a good trick. Let's say your drums are really tight like this. Really on the grid, right? And obviously we're doing lo-fi, so we want it a bit loose. All you would have to do is go here, groove, click this icon here, and you have, basically Ableton provides you a whole bunch of presets to loosen up the groove you have on the timeline. I'll just use this one, loosely flow. Just double click it, and then click commit, and then you'll see the snare isn't on the grid anymore. Instead of it being on the grid like that, it just loosens up just the groove in general. So if we listen back now, it's not a massive difference, but it's very subtle. And once the whole track's playing together, it'll make sense, you know. What else did I do with the drums? Yeah, just a lot of pauses here. Just give it some breathing space, right? So if you play it.
Perhaps I was talking when I should have been.
I think that's the thing about music production. It's really bringing in things and taking out things. It makes such a big difference. You don't need to have a completely different instrument every section, you know. Let's listen back to the whole thing. We've only got 5 tracks. 1, 2, yeah. So let's listen back to my first attempt at making a lo-fi type beat. You guys ready? I'm ready. Here we go. Okay, let's listen to my first ever lo-fi type beat. Let's see if I succeeded. Here we go.
Perhaps I was talking when I should have been listening.
Alright, ladies and gents, thank you for watching the video. If you want more of these kind of contents, comment your thoughts down below, and subscribe if you haven't. Peace and love, always. I just want to say, if you're an upcoming producer or artist or in any creative endeavor, don't be afraid to go a bit left field. You know, you don't always have to have a linear path towards what you want to be or what you want to create. Be open enough for inspiration to strike. You know, if you're too tunnel visioned, you might miss it, and that is a quote I stole from a film actually. It's a very similar quote. Which film was it? Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And there's a line there in the film, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you might miss it. And so that goes the same for creativity, inspiration. Sometimes you just need to slow down. And I think that's the reason why I want to produce some lo-fi. I just want to chill today, you know? And though I've never produced a lo-fi type beat before, I'm up for the creative challenge.